You are listening to Teacher Talk Tuesdays with Dr. Yvonne, author of Look Who's Talking and countless other educational materials. This podcast is a safe place for teachers to share their incredible stories, struggles, and triumphs. The educational system as we know it has changed, but no worries, Dr. Yvonne is here to help. Now, here's your host, Dr. Yvonne.
Hey. How y'all doing? This is your girl, Dr. Yvonne. I am here again for Teacher Talk Tuesday. I did the whole podcast earlier today and I was on mute. So I apologize for being on mute, and I'm going to try to do this again. I'm not going to stay here long. I'm not going to be here for a long period of time, but I just wanted to get in here so you all could hear what I had to say, because I feel like it was very important. It was very important about what we need to talk about as far as discipline in the school system. This is part 2, y'all. We talked about how, hold on, let me go ahead and turn me down. Hey. How y'all doing? This is your girl, Dr. Yvonne. I am here again. Teachers Talk Tuesday. I did the whole podcast earlier today, and I don't want to mute that. Okay, I don't want to mute the live, but okay. All right, here we go. I had to get that out the way so it would not be that loud. Yeah, I don't want that loud in here. It was very important about what we need to talk about. Come on, come on. See, it's always something. Yeah, it's always something. Here we go. So I'm gonna turn my computer down so y'all can hear me. Sorry. Always something. Technology. I'm telling you, I had all that stuff squared away, ready to go. I had to take my glasses off so I can see y'all. Actually, I need to switch glasses. All right. So yeah, today we had a very good talk, a conversation about discipline in the school system. And it's not just, I don't want people to think that I'm just trying to bash Texas, because I'm not trying to bash Texas. I've been teaching for over 20 years. I started out in Illinois. I worked my way to Colorado, and now I'm here in Texas. And to be honest, I'm seeing the same stuff that I saw 20 years ago when I first started in Illinois. However, things have changed. The discipline situation has changed, and I can actually see better without them. The discipline has changed because there used to be a time where you could actually discipline students and not have to worry about getting in trouble. You could write a student up for their behavior, and we had tiers, we had levels, first offense, a certain type of write-up where you were able to give the discipline for that, where we could give them a detention, we could give them an in-school, they could get in-school suspension, they could get a detention, they could get a recess detention, they could get a before-school detention, after-school detention. There were things in place that the teacher could do that would kind of cut down on the discipline issues in the classroom. Well, now our hands are tied. Teachers can't even do anything. We can write up a student, we can write them up, but yeah, my cat, she is everywhere. Every time I go live and do something, she's right here because she thinks she's supposed to be in the camera. But everything that we do, it's different. So we have a system. Well, here it's really different here in Texas for me, because I'm not used to that, where you have to write up a student 5 times five times. You have to write up a student 5 times before you can send them to the office for disciplinary action. So you mean to tell me this child can misbehave in my classroom 5 times, but it has to be 5 different things. So say, for instance, you coming in and you're a disruption in class. You won't stop talking. You walking around being disruptive and interrupting the learning process. I have to write you up, call your parent, let them know, and that's it. Next day, you can come in, slap a student. Okay, that's a different offense. So now I got to write you up for slapping a student, call your parent, let them know you did it. That's it. That's the extent of it. Third day, you come in, you do something different. That's a different write-up. If they're not the same disruption, it has to be a separate offense. So there's multiple times that you get to do something before anything even happens to you. No detention. We can't make them not go outside for recess because that's a violation. They need time to play. Well, you playing in my classroom all day long. When I'm supposed to be teaching, I got to stop because I got to deal with you because you're out of order because you're playing, and I got to discipline you. So you're taking away from the instruction of the other students. Now, the problem I have with that, and I told y'all last week, is that an officer came in to the classroom. Kitty, really, the officer came in and talked to our students about now that you're 10. And the state law, the number 1 state law for the state of Texas, that a student can be arrested for at the age of 10 is by disrupting the educational process in the school. So now all of these things that you've done already that is a disruption, you're not being held accountable for it. However, according to the police, you can be arrested for those things. So what are we doing for our kids? How are we helping them to be better citizens? How are we helping them to be better students? We're not. But then the bigger problem that I have is that when you deal with these situations and you've called parents, you left messages, they don't respond. And now because you've written their child up multiple times, the child goes home and now says, my teacher don't like me because she always saying something to me. She always writing me up. She always doing this. She always doing that. And she did this the last time and she did that. So now they go above you. They don't contact you. They go straight to administration, not even so much the administration in your building, but above them, and send correspondence about you being a bad teacher or you being disrespectful or you're not being professional. Now, the teacher doesn't get 5 chances before they're written up. They get wrote up immediately. And then there's an investigation. They got to go through and see, well, what did you do wrong? How did you handle this wrong? How could you have done this better? Oh, well, that wasn't professional. You shouldn't have said that. Well, you know what? Y'all got these unruly, disruptive kids in these rooms and y'all not dealing with that. But now you want to come to a teacher who's stressed out, burnt out, coming in, doing what they got to do to make sure that the learning process gets through. But you want to take the time to write them up and call them in because a parent complained about how you said something to their child. Help it make sense to me. Now, I can talk about me. Somebody else might not like it. I'm not going to talk about anybody else, other teachers. I'm talking about me and my experience. In the 20 years that I've been teaching, I've been written up twice. My second write-up came on Friday before the spring break because a child came at me like an adult when I gave them a directive to follow the hallway procedures, and they didn't like the way I spoke to them. because of the way they looked at me and responded to me when I gave the directive. A 9-year-old. I just simply said, hallway expectations is that you're on the 3rd tile, mouth closed, hands beside you or behind your back. This child turns and looks at me, looks me up and down, rolls her eyes, and continues to talk to her friends. Really? So I said to her, I was like, baby, who you looking at? I'm a whole adult. I'm 57 years old and you 9 or 10. Don't look at me like that. I gave you a directive. Stay in a child's place. Just because we're the same size, don't mean we're on the same level. So I need you to stay in a child's place. She looked at me again, up and down, and rolled her eyes and continued to talk with her friends. I let it go. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm not going to keep talking to you. It is what it is. This is what y'all do. There's no discipline. Nothing's going to happen. So a couple of days later, child comes back to me. We in line going the end of the day. We walking. She just yells out, my mama said you can't talk to me like that. Excuse me? My mama said you can't talk to me like that. Who? But baby, if your mama has an issue with something I said to you, she can come up here and talk to me. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. I'm telling you, my mama, no, I don't want to hear what your mama said. If your mama want to talk to me, have her come up to the school and we can have a conversation. That's how that works. I'm not going back and forth with you. She continued to want to talk to me. And I was like, do you talk to your mama like this? I'm not your mama. If your mama wants to talk to me, have her come up here and have a conversation with me. And we can deal with that. I'm not going to talk to you. Stay in a child's place. We've already had that situation. We've already had that conversation. I'm not going back and forth with you because you don't listen. So she begins to mumble and talk with her little friend and look at me and rolling her eyes again. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I don't have time for you. I'm not even going to say anything else to you. But yet I got rolled up for that because I was unprofessional. So what do we do about the disrespect from the children? How much disrespect are we supposed to take as teachers, as adults, before we deal with a child? I didn't say anything derogatory. I didn't curse her. I didn't disrespect her. I just told her she didn't follow the directive. But I was unprofessional. You know what? At the end of the day, I'd say it again. We have to stop appeasing parents. Check your child. Because see, if the parent had came up and had the conversation with me, we could have sat down and we could have been able to deal with that. I could have had her. And I like dealing with parents with your child present, because I'm not going to talk about your child behind their back. I want you to know exactly what your child did. I'm not going to lie. I have no reason to lie. I'm not going to lie on a 9-year-old. However, I'm not going to say anything that I can't repeat to a parent or an administrator. And I know that probably, shocked some people because they were like, oh, she repeated that. Yes, I did, because I don't feel like I said anything wrong. When you cross that line as a child and you come to an adult as an adult and you're a child, you need to be put in your place, because if you were taught right, you would have never stepped to an adult that way. If you were taught to be respectful, you would have never got out of pocket to feel like you were capable of talking to an adult that way or even looking at an adult that way. Because see, when I was that age and I had to look at an adult and look them up and down and roll my eyes at an adult at 9, I'd have been being picked up off the floor. But we don't have that in our school systems anymore. We don't have, I'm not saying abuse the kids, I'm not saying beat them, but that training comes at home. That training comes from home, not in the school. It's not my job to train your child how to be respectful and how to be disciplined. My job is to teach your child reading, writing, and social studies. There should be some level of discipline when you come into the classroom. But I understand these students that I'm dealing with, that I'm working with, it was brought to my attention that not only have they gone this year without a fourth grade teacher, but last year they were short a third grade teacher and they had a sub for the majority of the year. And the year before that, they were in second grade, was the pandemic, they were online. And in the first grade, when the pandemic started, they were online. So these kids have had no structure. These kids have had no discipline. They've had no acclimation to what it is that how their behavior should be in a classroom setting. I've had parents complain to me and be like, oh, my kids enjoyed school before you came. Well, I bet they did because they didn't have a teacher. They didn't have anyone teaching them what they needed to know. They were playing games and having fun and doing what they wanted to do. But now you have a teacher who's here, who's needing order to be able to get them where they need to be, because right now I should be reviewing what they learned from August to December, and I'm not reviewing, I'm teaching because they don't know it. So at the end of the day, let me do my job. You do your job, which is you handle the discipline with your child at home, and you teach your child how to be respectful when they come into the school building and into the classroom. And then we won't have these issues in the hallway. These kids, like I told y'all last week, some of the loudest kids I've ever seen in my life, that talk, and never stop talking. It is crazy, but it's what we're working with. I've gotten to the point that this is where we at and this is what we're doing. I've had more stress and more issues with my health in the short amount of time that I've been here than I've had in some places with being there for the whole school year. Why? Because of the walking on needles. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh, this is how we do this here. I understand that. I understand following rules. I understand trying to comply with the rules and the procedures that you all have. But when the procedures are not set, when the procedures are not in order, because the kids are not in order, the kids have knocked the procedures out the water. Now I'm coming in here trying to do what you want me to do, but the kids not complying with what they're supposed to do. Because see, I just got there, but these rules and expectations, hallway expectations, classroom expectations should have been set back in September. Some of the kids have been in the building since kindergarten, so you should know what the hallway expectations are by now. So at the end of the day, this is why we are losing good teachers. This is why we can't get substitute teachers. And yes, I did my dissertation on training substitute teachers to be effective in the classroom, what they need to be effective, based on the substitute teachers' perspective back in 2011. And the main thing that they said they needed help with was being trained on how to have classroom management and to deal with behaviors in the classroom. Well, if it's not done in the building, it's going to be kind of hard for you to have a sub to do that when they come in. But, from that, action plan from a dissertation, there's an action plan. What was the action? To create a curriculum to train substitute teachers. I've done that. So I'll be promoting it. I'll be looking to do that. I'll be looking to do that because it's needed. Not only is it for substitute teachers, but it may even help some teachers to be able to be structured and know how to leave good lessons for a sub when they're gone. Because our kids need to continue their education. So when we have a long gap with a sub in a classroom, the education should not be compromised. Because a substitute teacher doesn't mean that they're subordinate or substandard. It doesn't mean that they're not equal. It doesn't mean that they can't handle it. A substitute teacher doesn't mean that it's not as good. But that's what we think about when we hear substitute. It's a substitution. It's not the real thing. But when you train them, they can be just as good as the real thing. Then that way we can have products produced when they're in the classroom. The education can continue to learn. They could review a concept that's already been taught. It doesn't have to be a lost point. It could be a good time for a reteach. It could be a good time for practice. It could be a good time for you to work on some stuff that you haven't worked on that you need help with. That would be a good time to do some reteaching. Not a time for a crossword, word search, a color sheet. That's how our students lose out on education. Research shows, in my dissertation, it says it, that students lose the equivalent of a year and a whole year of learning and education. In their educational pursuit, they lose a whole year, the equivalent of a year of education because of substitute teachers, because they're not trained. We have to stop just putting bodies in the room just to make sure there's somebody in there. That would cut down on discipline. That would cut down on some of the issues. We got to have something in place for these kids to be able to do what they need to do. Not just sit back and, oh, we just got somebody in here to watch them for now. We ain't got to worry about nothing. They got somebody in here. Or just piling them all in one room and nobody's teaching them anything. I saw that happen in a district where if a teacher was out, they just split the class up and put them in other people's classrooms and sat them along the floor, and they weren't doing anything. That's how they miss out on the education. That's how they miss out on instruction. That's how they become disruptive, because they're not doing anything productive. You have reasons, 2 reasons why kids are disruptive in a classroom. 1, either they don't understand the material and they don't know how to do it, or 2, it's too easy for them and they're done and they need something else to do. In Illinois, we were taught how to be able to do differentiation. Not so much that you're teaching different lessons. Like now, it's like I'm teaching 5 different lessons a day to accommodate the students and their abilities and where they are. That's not differentiation. Differentiation is teaching a lesson and then you break it down in small groups at a level that they can understand it, but they're still doing the same concept. Not teaching 5 different lessons in a small group. We're getting away from what was, but I understand Texas is behind. They're behind, and I'm not being funny, but it is. I just went to a training where they said the race method is what we want to use for writing. Restate, answer the question, citation, cite your evidence, your proof, and then give evidence, explain your evidence. We were using that in Illinois in 2013, 2011, 2002. I started teaching in 2001. We were using the race method then. And we're just now getting it here in Texas. We have to learn how to be able to coexist, work together, and make things work. We can't always just think one way, and this is the way we're going to do it, and that's it. It doesn't work for everybody. If you want what's best for the students and you want to make sure the students are getting something out of it and they're actually participating and learning, let the teachers have a little autonomy. I understand doing the same lesson. I understand the concept of being able to be on the same page with every other 4th grader in the district. In case students move, they're getting the same thing. They're not missing out on anything. However, it should be in a position where the teachers can teach it the way they want to, where they can get across to their students. All students are not the same. We can't teach all of the students the same way. Yes, teach the same thing, but not the same way. It doesn't work. What works for your students might not work for mine. I might need to change something up. I might be able to do a different graphic organizer, or graphic organizer you have might be too difficult. I might need to get one that's broken up a little bit more, that gives more ways to do something. But we cannot continue to do things the way we've been doing it. We cannot, because it came up, excuse me. I was on TikTok and there was a teacher on there who feels the same way I do. So I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. She's in Georgia. And she shared a story of a student, a high school student, who broke a teacher's leg in a fight because the teacher tried to break it up. We learned that in Illinois a long time ago. We do not break up fights. Why? Because a teacher got sued by a parent whose child got hurt in a fight because they were holding them. They felt like they were holding their child, and the other child was able to get to them and hurt them in a really bad. So it was a law passed in Illinois that as teachers, if a fight break out, we cannot get in the middle of it. We cannot stop. So I tell my students all the time, I'm not breaking up a fight. If you get into a fight, if you decide that you want to fight somebody, you better hope you can win until help comes. We were instructed to call for the police liaison. They don't have those in elementary. Or call for an administration. Well, nowadays in buildings, administrators are gone out the building more than they in there. When we were in school, administrators were always there. Administrators actually took classrooms if they were short and didn't have a sub. I remember administrators going into classrooms teaching. Not now. They're not doing that. I remember going down the hallway and walking around, and you knew who the administrator was. People got their act together. People didn't act a certain way when the administrators were around. Not now. These kids cut up and do whatever they want to do, administrator or not. They don't care. I've seen kids actually do stuff that was inappropriate right in front of an administrator and nothing happened. I mean, this is what our school districts are coming to. And no, I'm not talking about any particular school. In my 20 years of teaching, I've seen students do things in front of administrators that they don't even address. But if we don't address something like that, we get called on the carpet for it because we allowed it. You know, it popped up again. I talked about it a few years ago in my podcast, and I forget the lady's name, but you can get it in my book. One of them, I believe it was in this one, the Look Who's Talking. This was my first episode of Teacher Talk Tuesday. That was my first episode when I first started it. I put it in a manuscript, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I talked about dealing with some of these same things. Accountability, it hasn't changed. Some things haven't changed. But this one lady said it was a doctor. She was doing a summit, and she made a profound statement. She said, teachers are scared of principals. Well, teachers are scared of principals. Principals are scared of superintendents. Superintendents are scared of the parents, and the parents are scared of the kids, and the kids ain't scared of nobody. And that's what we have going on. It is trickling down every year. It's getting worse. Every year I see it in the school system. The discipline situation is getting worse because the kids are not scared of anyone. The kids are doing what they want to do. Teachers are scared to do anything to students because the principal is going to write them up, because the superintendent is jumping down their back, and the superintendent is scared because the parents is coming to them and they want to take stuff to the news, and the kids ain't scared of nobody. They just wreaking havoc. What are we doing? We need to work on getting our kids ready, because we're setting them up for failure. Because the way they're acting now, and it's really scary that the way they're acting now is going to be something that's going to land them in jail later. We need to stop pacifying. I know they're kids. I know they are. But you have to correct behavior, not allow it to get worse. Because when you allow it to get worse, that's exactly what it's going to do. They're not going to listen to anyone. They don't care what people say. You have that now. I have students that walk out and go walk on and do whatever they want to do, and nothing is done. Because they know nothing is going to happen. I see good kids go bad because they see so many kids getting away with stuff, and they were like, well, why am I following the rules? Why am I doing what I'm supposed to do when they're not doing it and they get away with it? We're making it worse for those who want to stay good. So we've got to be consistent and disciplined. We have to come up with a better system in the educational system to discipline students without threatening them that they go into jail. Why should my 10-year-old be worried about being arrested for being disruptive? I'm going to tell you now, and I said it last week, and I need y'all to hear me and hear me good, because it's my heart that I'm speaking with. If we don't get a handle on these students now and their behaviors, when they get to middle school, there is a police officer, not a security guard, a bona fide police officer in every middle school. When you get in trouble, when you are a disruption, all they have to do is call for the officer and you will be arrested right there on the spot and taken out. There are no chances. There's no, oh, do it 5 times and then we're going to call and then we'll get somebody to come get you. No, we're setting them up for failure. They will be taken away and sent to juvenile hall. The officer told us that. That came out of his mouth. Parents, I don't know if you know the now that you're 10 law, but y'all need to look it up. Y'all need to find out what that means, because in the state of Texas, now that you're 10 means that you can be arrested, fingerprinted, have a record, and be put in jail until the judge decides to release you. We don't want, they say that we setting our kids up as a pipeline to prison. Our school systems are now a pipeline to prison. I'm seeing the correlation, but we can stop it if we work together to get our kids in order and to discipline them and stop trying to act like teachers just out to get your child. We're there to educate your child. And sometimes we have to educate them on every level, with every incident, with every field. Personal, hygiene, how they act, how they look, how they sit. Got little girls that come in there want to straddle chairs. Baby, no, we're not doing that. Turn around, don't do that. That's not appropriate. Where did you learn that you come in and you straddle a chair like that? No. But then they want to look at you and roll their eyes and get smart. Well, that's something you should have learned at home. For real. It is not cool that you straddling chairs like that. No. All you want to do is come in and TikTok, rump shake and shake your butt. No. That's why I started my TikTok and putting reading strategies on there and language arts strategies on there. Because if you're going to watch TikTok, you might as well get something educational out of it. That's where all our kids are. That's where they're learning everything. They seem to think TikTok is the best thing in the world. Parents, you better know what your kids are watching and what they're doing on TikTok. They're picking up some habits and some things that they don't need. But that's what we got disciplining our kids. That's what we got watching our kids. Video games, TikToks. That's what they're doing. Social media. That's where our kids are. Get them to read a book. Put it on TikTok. Record it. Maybe they'll listen to it. Maybe they'll read a book. These are the things we need to be concerned about. But we're not. We're concerned about everything else. We need to work together, not apart. We need to work together and not apart. I'm just saying. So, parents, let's do this. Let's try to get it together. Work together to make sure these kids get what they need so they can be ready for society. We have to instill more discipline and be more proactive instead of reactive. Let them know that there's a proper way to do everything. Go back to old school. I tell you, I'm old school, real old school. I have a problem with a 9-year-old looking me up and down and rolling their eyes at me. I'm sorry. I have a problem with that. So if you want to write me up for that, you setting our kids up to let them know, okay, you can do that to adults. You don't have to be held accountable for that. We're going to let you do that. It's okay. But then you get out in the real world and you do that to somebody who's not going to have it. Not going to work. We need to wake up. We need to wake up for real and get these kids right. We need to get them right. All right. I said I wasn't going to be in here long. I just wanted to recap because the last live I did, it was muted. So don't look at the part 2. Look at the part 2 retape because this is the second one. And I'm just I had to get it out. I had to get it out. It had to be put out there. It had to be put out there. So hopefully you take it with love, use it, and help us get these kids ready. And stop fighting us so we can get done what we need to get done. Because I teach because I love it, not because of anybody's child, favoritism. I don't have any favorites. My kids asked me that. They was like, do you have any favorites? No. It was like, do you like kids? I'm like, I like kids, but I just don't like some of the behaviors that the kids do. I don't like one no more than I like the other. I treat all of them the same. You do right, I reward you. You do wrong, I chastise you. I don't have any favorites. That's not what I'm here for. So let's work together and get them where they need to be. All right, y'all. Thank you for rolling with me again. This is your girl, Dr. Yvonne, Teacher Talk Tuesday, the teacher that talks. Until next time, you be blessed.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed Teacher Talk Tuesdays with Dr. Yvonne. Tune in next time for more incredible stories, struggles, and triumphs.